So whenever I have someone that has a sore low back, I like to start with compressions in the upper glute area. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get started with some light compressions. And nothing too firm yet. And always make sure that your wrist is as straight as possible when you're applying, a good amount of pressure. You can do compressions with a soft fist. I just am a lot more comfortable doing it with the heel of my hand. And Chelsea had mentioned that she's a little bit ticklish in this area, so I'm just gonna kind of skip that for now. So one little trick I have, if someone's really ticklish or they're really tight, you can actually use your forearm, and sometimes that works really well. Be a little less ticklish. This is also really good if your client is having a rough day or feeling a little more stressed. This broad pressure just tends to feel really nice. So as I'm holding these compressions and just gradually using more pressure, and I'm working at a diagonal. I'm not just going down. And starting to get into these upper traps a little more. And the scapula is a little trickier to access and work on, but this is a nice way to start warming everything up. So even though I'm using my elbow, I'm not using a ton of pressure. And just come in with your fingers. Work your way around that scapula. This is actually a lot easier to do if there's a sheet. I usually do compressions like this, not skin on skin, but this works too. Because Chelsea is a little more ticklish in her mid-back, I'm going to use this forearm work, do some super broad compressions. And again, I'm not just going down, I'm going more at a diagonal with my pressure. And I am using my whole forearm right now. I'm not just using my elbow. So the less surface area that you use, the more intense the feeling it's going to be. And so I'm just kind of warming everything up. But as I kind of get into the scapula area, I'm going to start using my elbow a little bit more. But I'm not applying a lot of pressure. Kind of seeing how everything feels, how contracted everything is. So I did notice that Chelsea on her right side is like especially tight in here. I'm going to start going in with some trigger point, so less surface area, but she's not ready for like full on elbow. I'm just using less of my forearm. And typically if someone is really ticklish, more pressure is better than less. So again, I'm using a little bit of my forearm and all of my elbow. And it's the same thing where I'm starting with lighter pressure and then gradually applying more. And I'm going to grab my oil and get started with the next part of our massage. And just making sure that there's plenty of oil. I don't have to keep going back and forth. And just working my way down that erector spine. Nice and slow. As I work my way up, kind of getting into these levators a little bit. Paying a little extra attention to that erector spine. Feels a little more bound up on Chelsea today. And finally moving into a soft fist. This is my favorite way to work that erector spine. And nice and slow, nice firm pressure. And I like to pause around that side joint. It's just really nice for decompression, a really gentle stretch in that low back. And kind of isolating each side a little bit. So this is a nice way to work the soft tissue and stretch the muscle fiber a little bit, working in opposite directions. So starting with a soft fist, and eventually your palm's gonna be flat. And that spot in here is definitely needing some attention. Just nice, consistent, firm pressure. Sometimes when someone is more ticklish, the fascial tissue can be really sticky along the spine. So just running your fingers along the spine can really help stretch that fascial tissue out and be less sticky. And because Chelsea is more tight in her mid to upper, I'm just spending a little more time. And this can be a little taxing on your fingers. That's why I'm stacking my hands, just kind of supporting my fingers on the way up. I'm going to need to apply a little more oil onto my forearms. So I'm going to start using my elbows and forearms a lot more. The soft tissue's warmed up and ready. So just applying nice, consistent pressure along the spine. I know some therapists who will go like almost to the bottom of the spine. I don't usually go that far. I don't think my torso is long enough. And I'm gonna start working into this erector spine a little more. Sometimes the muscle can be really stubborn, and I find going slow is just a lot more effective than anything. Does that tickle? So yeah, just nice, consistent pressure and going really slow is usually most effective. And using a broader surface area when someone's really ticklish helps a lot too. So I'm gonna start for myself as the person giving the massage. I'm making sure I'm hinging at my hips and really working for my core as much as I can as I start to apply more pressure. And I'm not really pressing down, I'm more pressing in. Just starting to work my way up. And as I get closer to the upper trap, I'm going to start using my actual elbow a little bit more. And Chelsea's not really ticklish up here too. It's going to be easier to use less surface area. I'm really letting my elbow catch that muscle fiber and stretch it. And you really need to go slow to have that kind of sensitivity in your elbow. I just find that the scapula is a little more difficult to access and work on, so I really like doing trigger pointing here. So just holding and release. I'm going to do a few more compressions in here. Just holding and release. And maybe one more. Just holding and release. So again, just starting with pretty much my entire forearm. Chelsea is not quite as tight on this side, but she's still a little bit ticklish. And then back. And nice, consistent pressure, just really slow movements up. And if you want to start to get a little more detailed in your work, you can start angling your forearm a little bit more and putting more pressure on your elbow, through your elbow. But if you notice your client's muscle starting to fight you, then you really need to back off and use a broader surface area. Adjust your pressure. And working my way into that upper trap. And just doing a few compressions in that scapula area. Holding for just a couple seconds. And Chelsea did say that her low back is kind of bothering her, so I'm going to do a little bit of work in these SI joints. Create a little more space. And it's a lot easier if you go in with both thumbs at a time. And really just working organically, not being mechanical about how I'm doing the massage. Just trying to create a little more space in that low back. Whenever the hips are gripping, can just put a lot of strain on the low back. This SI joint work really helps the hips to release. And I'm going to go ahead and end this work today, just moving along this lower spine. There's a ton of nerve endings, and this is just really healing for the low back, stimulating this area. You can do little circles, you can just apply constant pressure. It's whatever feels the best. And I always like to end with just really stretching out that fascial tissue along the spine. It's super healing for the skeletal system as well. The skeletal system. And that is it for today. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you come back and see us again soon.
If you enjoy these videos, please join us at PsycheTruthPatrons.com for dozens of exclusive videos and premium programs. We have over 1,000 videos you won't find on YouTube, such as modeling and fashion hauls, exclusive massage videos, ASMR, behind the scenes, bloopers, and much more. It's a great way to help us keep the cameras rolling so we can continue making the content you love. Patrons will get 2 to 3 new exclusive videos each week, so I hope you'll consider joining our Patreon family today. Just visit PsycheTruthPatrons.com. Join us for 14 and 30-day programs, hour-long classes, and much more on our yoga app, Yoga Plus by PsycheTruth. It's free to download and features a variety of wellness content, including yoga, fitness, Pilates, guided meditations, and interviews with dozens of wellness experts.